I'd like to denounce the Word Balloon podcast. The show and its so-called host, John Suntress, are a disgrace to the nation. 19 years of episodes and not one conversation about sad sack. I base all my military appropriation Senate votes on the whimsy of this great comic. And don't mess with Texas.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
I remember when The Dark Knight Returns came out. I remember when Watchmen came out. So, of course, I remember when Kingdom Come came out.
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show, although not too much comic book talk tonight. John Suntress here. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Allison Baker, you all know from Monkeybrain Comics. Good to see you, Allison. And Allison had a request because with the World Series coming up, and Allison, unfortunately, diehard Mets fan, so a little disappointment. We'll get into that. But there you go. Atta girl. But we're also fortunate to have two of my good friends, lifelong friends that work for the White Sox organization. So you want to talk about suffering this year. I feel for Allison and the Mets, but good Lord, it sucks when you break the record for losing this team in for a season. But my dear friends who work the scoreboard at Sox Park, it's Dave Marran. He's known as Sox Nerd in the social media circles, and Laura Marran. Good to see all of you. Welcome.
Hi, John.
Thanks for having us.
Boy, this is exciting, man. Oh, Jose already chiming in. Yes, Allison rocks. Indeed, Jose. Well said. Well said. Well spoken. That's cool. Hey, good looking guy. I saw the photo, Jose. I singled Allison off because we're all kind of Hollywood squares for the title card. But well, first of all, let's honestly, we feel for you, Dave and Laura. It's got a how was it in truly working that kind of rough season?
Well, our job is great, and we work with a lot of people that we respect and love, and the work is fantastic. The production was great. The atmosphere was great. The outcome on the field was the biggest problem.
Sure.
But I think we had maybe our best year from a production standpoint.
You guys do the trivia for the scoreboard. What else? How would you describe it, David?
When a batter comes up at Guaranteed Rate Field, on the screen, I will put a graphic that I've written, researched, and displayed. And then for the White Sox, I will change it, maybe even pitch by pitch, depending on the situation, to fit what's going on in the game. And then I also do the trivia for each team during the game. And then I will do notes during the game. Let's say it's Italian Heritage Night. I will do a note on White Sox players who were born in Italy. Or if it's Rock and Roll Night, maybe which bands played at Comiskey Park back in the day. So I try to incorporate the White Sox into everything. And that's what I do on my Twitter account. And Laura's the one who has the real fun.
I'm the fan prompt person. So if you see 2 strikes, 2 outs, or get loud, or make noise, that's me tapping into my high school cheerleading roots. So I still get to do that. So a little bit of a challenge this year because, we've got base hit, double, we should great play, whatever. We just didn't have a lot of those this year. Yeah. So I was just like at the ready, like, please something happen so I can push a button.
Sure.
And
well, beyond both of your scoreboard duties, you also are accomplished sports writers, both of you. Laura, long time, and please expand on the fact that long time writer for the Packer Report in football.
Yep, Kenosha News and Packer Report.
Yep.
So I got to cover the Packers during the Brett Favre years, essentially. So I got to see Super Bowls and see a lot of winning, but I'm a literal lifelong Packer fan, born into it, born not too far from Lambeau Field, season ticket holder, everything. Was able to convert some Bear fans over to Packer Nation. So so it was a pleasure to write for them. And I was able to switch from fan to writer pretty easily looking back.
That's cool. And David, of course, former sports editor of the Kenosha News.
I started the Kenosha News
but even prior to that, the author of the Cub Fan Quiz Book.
That's right. I was a Cub fan back in the day, and I wrote a book about it, and that served me very well. Then I went to work for the White Sox in 1984 and became obviously a great Sox fan. I started work at the Kenosha News in 1987. I became sports editor in 1995. I retired in 2016, and here we are.
And now you're doing the scoreboard stuff.
Scoreboard, yeah.
Yep. Allison, you're a Met fan, and I know how frustrating it was to come so close.
Yeah, but that also, like, the fact that you work for a baseball organization is like now like my dream job. So like I'm jealous right now because you get to like watch every baseball game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super jealous. Like in the stadium.
We were at 80. I was at 80 of the 81 home games this year. We only work home games. And Laura was at.
I took a couple games off to go to concerts, but other than that, I was there.
Yeah.
It is great. It's great. I never felt like we were going to work. I felt like we were going to a baseball game.
Yeah.
And even in my best days on my job as a reporter, and even as my best days, which were mostly all days as a teacher, you were really happy for those days off. With the White Sox, kind of like, oh man, we have a 9-day road trip. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So we love going in, love the people, and
the White Sox are really good to us. I mean, and the people we work with are fantastic. When Nancy Faust retired in 2010, she said,
organist, everybody, if you don't know, go ahead.
The legendary organist. She said, going to work, it wasn't like going to work every day. It felt like you were going to see your family. And that's true. And that is 100% true. We are very fortunate.
That's excellent. Absolutely. And again, my 16 years of sports radio talk and stuff, and especially those 10 years I had at the Score, the local sports station, I got to know a lot of people in the White Sox organization, including Jerry Reinsdorf. And I like Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
And he has been incredibly kind to me. And I would tease him on the radio, and I would do my mumbling Jerry Reinsdorf. Well, I really feel the team's going to do good. And stuff like, and to his face, and he's like, "You really think I talk like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I hate that." And he was so sweet to me. I've told you guys all this before. We were in the owner's box, and he had a bunch of friends there, and he pointed to me. He's like, "This is the only guy in Chicago I let make fun of me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was great. But Allison, how many Met games were you able to go to this year?
I went to 4 this year. I went to all the Nationals games in DC because I was.
And you're in Portland, and you work and you do work in DC and stuff. But okay.
Yeah, no, I was in DC for a month, and a part of that was that I was like, oh, I can go to like Mets games.
Sure.
So, because like the year before when we were losing really badly, I was at like the blowout in Citi Field where they lost a doubleheader against the Braves. So, I'm never in the same city. Like I'm rarely in Citi Field, so because I'm in Portland, Oregon. But I was in LA for a long time, so I think I've seen more Mets games in Dodger Stadium than I have in any other stadium. But I do watch every single game, so there is that, and watched all of the playoffs games, not just the Mets. So it's kind of my. As I'm back doing political media for a living, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's nice to just watch a baseball game and not think about my job, because otherwise, if I put the news on, then it's just my job.
Well, in the second half of this discussion, I will make you think about your job, because also, everybody, that's why the title of the show is Baseball and Ballots, because voting is very important. Really, this year, I would say it's a really special, unfortunately, year that everyone really needs to vote. And we're going to get into it. And you might be able to see from Allison's hat that we're a bit partisan. And we don't say this to
I'm
offend.
partisan. It doesn't mean that anybody else is. So
Well, I know, knowing Dave and Laura and the conversations we have amongst ourselves. No, we're partisan as well, and we're a Harrison Walsh broadcast. You don't. If I will announce when we switch topics. If you want to hang out for the baseball stuff and you want to leave the politics, that's totally your choice, and no one's going to feel bad about it. But we're also going to say that how important it is to vote and really talk about some of the cool things that Allison's been doing, because Allison's been making political ads, radio and television, for the battleground states. So we'll get into that. But first, I want to talk about the World Series coming up. It's the Dodgers and the Yankees, as in my poor Vince Scully voice would be. But 12th time, Dave, they've met each other in the World Series?
I think this is the 13th.
This is 13, okay.
Yeah.
13th,
but
yeah.
mostly before they moved to LA.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are Brooklyn. Yeah, those are Brooklyn,
Yeah,
New York
Brooklyn
days.
Dodgers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, that's what makes it awesome, man. No, the 50s were that incredible era where you had the Giants and the Dodgers and the Yankees all there and all great.
Yep. I think Brooklyn's only world title was in 55 against the Yankees. That was the World Series where Jackie Robinson stole home. I'm sure you've seen the play many, many times where Jackie Robinson slides under Yogi Berra's tag and Yogi Berra freaks out and still insisted to his dying day that Robinson was out.
Yeah.
It's the most frequent matchup in World Series history,
which is awesome. Yeah, again, I mean, everybody would have loved to have seen a Subway Series with the Mets and the Yankees, but this is Celtics Lakers. This is name your favorite rivalries, and of course, not only sticking in your cry, Allison, about this year, but back in '59, the first time the LA Dodgers won the World Series, it was against our Chicago White Sox back in '59.
Yeah. That was the first. It was the first World Series in California back in '59, and
there you go.
Those games were played at the LA Coliseum, games 3, 4, and 5, and there were 92,000 people at each of those games.
Wow.
So those are attendance records that will never, ever be broken.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah.
So
I like to call it the matchup of like everybody that bought a baseball hat, didn't watch baseball, and just like thought it looked cool with their outfit. Series is what I want to say about that. So good on you guys, because now you got somebody to root for.
Right.
Oh. I feel like I'm selling out because I am kind of happy about the series. Just when I started looking at it, like game's going to start. So the last couple of days I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, who doesn't want to see Aaron Judge and Ohtani and Soto? Like, yeah, I do too. I want to see this. This is like a big deal. It's like an all-star game almost.
Yeah.
But I hate to admit that because I'm usually either cheering for the underdog, us,
right,
or small market teams too. Because I grew up a Brewers fan, and I really was pulling for them, if only to get Bob Uecker a World Series.
No kidding. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And I'm kind of pulling for Kansas City in a way, just because nobody wants them, or the the Guardians.
It's all right. The Commanders, but we still say the Tribe. I understand.
No,
all right. Sorry if that's offensive, everybody.
So Cleveland, I was pulling for them. I keep pulling for the small teams, and now that we're here with the two big ones, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. So.
Yeah.
It could be interesting, but I think that, like, if you want to get down to brass tacks, I think it's going to come down to starting pitching, because, like, it feels like we're watching all of the playoff games. It's like where people fell down everybody went to their bullpen so early.
Yeah.
And so I think whoever dominates starting pitching might have an edge because the bats are there.
Yeah.
For both teams.
For both teams.
Yeah. Well, the way they handle their bullpens, if anyone can get 5 innings out of their starter, that would almost be a miracle, because I think the trend in baseball is more towards openers and they call the guys who do the load,
the long relief. Yeah,
the long relief. The classic starting pitcher. Wilbur Wood, Fergie Jenkins, Bob Gibson, those are relics. And if you can get I I think the White Sox had one complete game this year. I mean, it was just so ridiculous, you know. And they had one guy pitch into the ninth, and it's just such a bonus if you can get a guy to go 5 or 6 innings, and it's all based on pitch counts and everything.
They also have. I'm sorry, Laura. Please continue.
I think that's a terrible trend. It's a kind of
I agree
issue for me. I think all these great pitchers who have these numbers, the Hall of Fame numbers, nobody's going to have a chance to get there ever again. And every time they take a pitcher out who's doing well in the 5th inning, the whole game just falls apart. It just comes to a screeching halt.
I'm with you.
I don't even know who the best pitchers are this year, I feel like, because you don't get to see them.
Well, and you're right. And I wonder how they are going to judge for future Hall of Fames when there is this kind of specialization in pitching. And also, really honest, I'll admit, I am not paying attention to baseball like I used to. And a lot of the rule changes have really got me insane. But like regarding, and we'll get to some of the ones that I know that Laura and I absolutely go crazy about. But regarding pitching, when you bring in a middle reliever, there's like a minimum of like you can't bring a minimum for one batter anymore.
It's got to be 3. Yep.
Yeah.
3 batters.
There was a lefty specialist for the Sox in the 90s that my buddy Jesse Rogers was really good friends with, and he introduced me to. And when I first heard that, I'm still thinking classic baseball, and it's like, so you literally only go in to see lefty batters, and it's like,
Well, I remember when pitchers would hit, so
we all do,
and then I like that.
Oh yeah,
because it
Holtzman, Jerome Holtzman, former. I'm sorry, Allison. I'm talking to you. Say it again.
Oh no, I mean just saying, like it's just you have to manage in a different way. I also was in the stadium when Bartolo Colon hit his home run.
Whoa.
So yes.
Wow. Well, I remember in the 70s. I mean, I was a big Ken Holtzman fan when he was with the Cubs, and then he goes to the A's and he hits 2 home runs in the World Series.
Yeah, when they had the DH, so that was crazy. Yeah,
and I guess they would alternate depending on what's. I don't even know how they did it back then, David.
Home team, right?
They had
that makes sense.
No, there were years where you would bat. It took them a while to get the DH in the World Series
in the postseason. Okay,
yeah. So
weird.
Was it ever that it was the home team?
No,
the home team? No,
I don't think so. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. The well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, David. If you got it.
I was going to say, Allison. The Mets really delivered we live in Wisconsin, and they delivered a death blow to one of the great Milwaukee Brewers seasons.
I know, and I'm really sorry. Except I
mean, we weren't at the games. We live closer to American Family Field than we do to Guaranteed Rate Field, but we didn't go, but we watched the games on TV, and we knew people who were there.
Oh gosh.
And it was we've been told, the most deflating moment people have ever witnessed.
It was weird watching it because like I was watching it live, and it was like okay, we're gonna lose this game. It was like, you know, and then when he hit the home run, I was like, oh my god, like literally, oh my god. So it was insane. I also have to say, like, us against the Phillies was crazy because like I felt like, and that's why I felt really good going in, is because we kind of dominated the Phillies. Like they just didn't have it, and I was like, okay, we can take the Phillies, but I think that they lost their momentum when they had a couple of days off. And it just like the wheels kind of came off the bus a little bit. But yeah, that was my 50th birthday, is when they game, was it 4 or 5?
Game 5
with the Phillies.
Oh, the Phillies, yeah.
The Phillies game.
Yeah.
It was my 50th birthday, and I was like,
nice.
Best birthday ever.
I thought the Phillies were gonna win it all. They were a powerhouse, but
they were a fantastic team.
Yeah.
And they were
all year.
They have it.
But they couldn't battle the power of Grimace.
Apparently not. We had so many weird things this year. It was kind of hilarious. And it was weird because we came in with a new manager. Like, I love Buck Showalter. Like, I was like very upset when they got rid of Buck Showalter. And I thought that they did not do him. Like, I thought that the last season was just like a like not really him. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of felt like he needed another year.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like super like behind Mendoza when he first came in, but like I honestly like I have so much respect for him at this point, because to come in as a first year manager and to do what he did with that team, who was not expected to go the long game, you know, and to come back, you know, we were losing bad. I mean, I feel bad talking to you guys.
Of the Yankee and Dodger managers, who would you say is the superior strategist?
I think that the way that the Dodgers manager has managed their bullpen and how they're having to deal with their pitching situation and him getting through it, I think it's Dave Roberts, right? Like I think that I'm incredibly impressed with how he managed that series.
There's a hometown kid on the Dodgers, Gavin Lux. They're sometimes second baseman. From Kenosha, so some small connection.
Sure.
So our daughter was on gymnastics team with his sister. So we knew him.
Wow.
We knew him running around.
He was a little boy.
Yeah. We used to call them random gymnastics brothers. They would like bring their Game Boys to the gymnastics meets and sit under the bleachers with like all the candy. So he was one of those kids, little rugrats. And then now he's on the Dodgers. But so we followed them. And so what you said, Allison, is I was really impressed with Roberts, like just watching him and the changes he made compared to maybe what we were seeing, which, you know, we'd always question what was going on, more so prior to this year, even though with all the losses this year, the managerial bewilderment was stronger with La Russa. Obviously, that it was not. So
interesting.
Make the move was really nice.
It was interesting watching them play the White Sox, because I watched that. I watched all of the games, so I watched those games. They were so close. Like there's something that's like not gelling, you know. And you guys know, I mean, baseball is such a team sport, and like if everything's not clicking on all cylinders, it just like kind of falls apart. And I felt like it was like almost there, right? Y'all feel that way?
Yeah.
I can see it. Like I can see it. I'm a Mets fan, so I'm always like, "Where's the positive here?"
It was a rough year.
What strengths do you think the Yankees, beyond having equal bats or power themselves, where would you say their advantages are?
Well, the Yankees are an offensive juggernaut when you have Soto and Judge and Stanton right in the order like that. That is just unbelievable. And Soto broke the hearts of the city of Cleveland when he hit his home run to essentially clinch the pennant. And that was another moment we knew another person who was at that game, made the drive from suburban Milwaukee to go to the game. It was really impressive. Anyway, and they said when that home run was hit, it was like, you know, the air going out of the balloon. That team is with those three hitters, that is formidable. I mean, that's as good as you'll ever see. Then, of course, the Dodgers have the great Ohtani.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting with Fernando passing away, Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, David. I wanted to acknowledge that. Yeah,
there was a very comparable Fernando mania and Ohtani mania. Just the amount of buzz around both of those players. And Ohtani is, I think people will just tune in to watch Ohtani and Judge. And then, of course, there's the added factor where the viewers from Japan will add to the ratings for this World Series.
Certainly.
I think it's going to be great. I think just based on Ohtani and those three batters, there's going to be a lot of good drama.
What's the status of the Ohtani gambling controversy?
Boy, that went away.
I was going to say they consider it resolved.
I think it's just like nothing to see here. Let's move on.
Okay. And that's classic organized sports.
Yeah, right.
Sadly. Yeah. And again, it's so weird, guys. You'll all appreciate this. There are, as Dave and Laura know, when I get into something, I'm very passionate and I really like follow it to a very diehard level. And spending 16 years in sports talk radio, that's the only area of my career or even interest where after watching how the sausage is made, I'm like, whatever. I can invest in a game, I can invest in a series, but as far as the day-to-day thing, it's like, no, these guys are all selfish jerks. The personal seat licenses bothered me. Everything about the top and even college and the way, just the inconsistency of college. And, God, look how long it took for women to get respect and women's sports to get respect. And even now, obviously it's not like that, but just all the BS you learn about the NCAA and all the major leagues as well of all four major sports. And of course, my sport, boxing. It's weird that I tolerate the BS of boxing, but, really, again, having covered comics for 19 years, I kind of know that BS side, Allison.
That's what I was going to say.
And yet
everywhere, John.
Yeah, but I don't know. And I guess because it was day to day with organized sports, I'm just like, yeah, that's all right.
You
do your thing.
For me, when I sit down and I watch what happens between the white lines, that is the beauty of it for me. And that's where I'm able to, because the game is so great, the history is so great. And this goes for the sports that I follow with a passion: baseball, basketball, and football. The historical significance of it, the continuity of baseball. Oh my God, they've been playing the World Series since 1903. The White Sox have been playing since 1901. And it's, to me, that is just so awesome. And the baseball, I think, on the field is basically the same. There have been rule changes, but it's basically the same game. The bases are 90 feet apart. I'm not going to break into the James Earl Jones speech here, but anyway, the bases are 90. It's still the same game. It's the same game my father watched at Shibe Park in Philadelphia in 1941. And it's the same game that my grandson will watch. Hopefully he'll be a baseball fan in, 5 years when I take him to Guaranteed Rate Field or American Family Field. So I get it, John. I get the,
I get your love, truly.
And so that's what I do it. And, my Twitter account is a lot of me basically tying the White Sox to anything. That's what I love to do.
Well, it reminds me of when I collected baseball cards. The factoids that you come up with are the same things we would read on the backs of cards.
But I go way
more.
Yeah.
Obscure
and arcane there. So anyway, and I love it.
It does go beyond the little cartoon. And Kev loves fly fishing in the off season. It's like, all right, great.
And some of them end up on the scoreboard. Some of them don't. So that's just a very long answer of saying that I love the games. I love the games.
I do too, and I just think baseball is such a hard game and such a wonderful game to watch because anything can happen at any time. And that's what's so great about it. And you were talking about the end of that game in Milwaukee. It's like anything could happen at any time. Yeah. It's not over until it's over.
Yeah.
Until the thing that makes baseball unique is that the art of keeping score. So I still love to keep score. It's harder and harder to find a scorecard at ballparks, but they still have them. We're huge football fans, college basketball fans, gymnastics fans, everything. But there's no other sport where you keep this pitch by pitch, physical copy. And then if you have enough of them, you can kind of look and, Kopech's Immaculate Inning. You look at what that looks like on paper. A game, sometimes I end up scribbling on mine because it's such a mess because scoring changes or you go into the next, they bat around and I just scribble it out. So that's something to me that win or lose, rule changes, managers, whatever, that's kind of the essence of baseball.
Yeah. Well, when you get to a pitch, it's like watching a wind-up toy because everything really has to set. And I guess it's similar in football when the ball is snapped to a quarterback, but it really, everyone is really leaning in, literally, and certainly the players are waiting for that next pitch. And then it happens after that pitch. It's like, all right, now it's time to wind up the toy again and have the whole thing happen again. Yeah. So no, I get that.
Some pitches are just really fun to watch pitch. like not all pitchers are fun to watch pitch. Like it's like, but there's some people that like you're like, oh my god, like just like watching, like you get like fascinated by like DeGrom was that way for me. Like you know, watching him pitch was like energizing. I loved watching Bartolo Colon pitch. Like it was like because it was like he was kind of like this nonchalant. Like I just loved that attitude about him. You know, it was it was so fun, right? He didn't throw fast, but he was like, people were like, "What is he doing?" You know,
who was awesome. Who was that Cub pitcher of the early 2000s, Dave? That was like that. That was like. Go ahead.
There was Rick Russell in the 70s.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, but I'm thinking like around when they lost to the Marlins.
Rod Beck?
No, it wasn't Rod Beck. I can't think it was, but he would really, and maybe I think that's the right era. It wasn't the late 90s decent teams. I don't know. But yeah, I mean there's somebody that's, again, you know, I'm too much weed. Who? What? So yeah. It's legal. That's all right.
Anything can happen in these games with Alonso and then the Cleveland. Today is the 19th anniversary of Game 2 of the 2005 World Series, which is the greatest game I've ever seen. It was when the White Sox defeated the Astros in the World Series, and Paul Konerko hit a grand slam in that game. I thought Guaranteed Rate Field, I think it was U.S. Cellular Field, that was going to collapse of its own weight because of the sound of that. And then the game ended on a Scott Pasednik home run and a walk-off. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. And you talk about why baseball is such a great game. Scott Pasednik hit no home runs during the regular season, but he ends up hitting a walk-off home run in Game 2 of the World Series. I left that game emotionally exhausted. And that was the last game I worked that year. To be honest, I don't know if I could have taken a game 6 or 7. So I'm glad they won it in Houston.
Here's a comment from Actual Dracula real fast. Probably the greatest moment in Canadian baseball happened on this day in 1993, and that was Joe Carter's walk-off to win the back-to-back World Series for the Blue Jays.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the Blue Jays had to go through the White Sox that year to
exactly. Yes, that's when I for our sports radio station I took Boss Skaggs' song Lido Shuffle and I turned it into the Cito Shuffle for Cito Gas.
My first baseball stadium besides the Astrodome, which I went because I grew up in Houston, so I went to the Astrodome a lot. Because my dad was a committee man for the rodeo.
How was that? How was seeing games at the Astrodome to other stadiums, Allison?
The Astrodome is not a great venue for anything.
Yeah, but it was so weird and cavernous and gigantic. You know, first indoor stadium, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
We went one time.
Sure did.
One time.
1986 All-Star game.
I'm still mad about them stealing signals a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, so
there were a lot of other people.
I almost did not see the 1986 All-Star game. We flew to Houston. It had a blast.
That was great.
It's great. We get to the game. Can't wait. It's my first All-Star game.
Mine too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get there. We get in a concourse. We get some nachos or something. I get to the top of where we're going to walk down to get to our nosebleed seats. And I'm like, I am not walking down those stairs.
Oh yeah. Cause they're like this.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. This is great. I'm so glad we're here. Have a great time. Enjoy the game. I'll be on a concourse.
I pulled a Marty Price. I'm like, what are you kidding me? What are you kidding me?
It's a really big.
What's you got there?
Crazy big. It's like I don't know why they would do anything because they played everything there, right? Like it was football, baseball, concerts, the rodeo.
Sure,
some basketball games there. Some very big.
Yes,
well, that was at the Summit, which was like near.
Yeah, but I think wasn't it at the Astrodome, Dave, where Elvin Hayes and Jabbar had the great college game.
That's right. He was Lou Alcindor.
I don't know how you do baseball in the Astrodome. Basketball. Crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, a lot of
Final Four.
How do you see it? I don't know how you see it.
To quote Euchre, great seats, huh, buddy?
No.
God,
but my first stadium besides the Astrodome was in Toronto. So.
Oh, nice! Wow. Yeah. Did you ever stay at the hotel?
I've stayed across the street from the CN Tower, like right across the stadium recently, actually, like when I was doing other TV show stuff. But it had nothing to do with my life then.
And then maybe that's the hotel I'm thinking of, but I thought it was like right behind the outfield.
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
can see the game.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
No, I haven't. Yeah, no.
Okay.
This was also when I was like in middle school, so like 86 or 85 or something. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So
Understood. What's all right, everybody, and no matter the year, best game you ever saw. I'll start off and say I saw Randy Johnson in a Brewer against the Brewers in a Brewers game. I think it had to have been the Rockies or something. I can't remember. But it was such a pleasure. Or no, it wasn't. You guys know better who it was. But it was such a pleasure watching him pitch that I really literally was just hanging on every pitch watching him play.
Yeah.
I was at Game 5 of the 1982 World Series, Brewers versus Cardinals, and it was at Marquette. I was a freshman, entered a lottery for tickets, and vowed with some other friends that if any of us won, we would take the others. And one of the guys in the group won and kept his word. And we went. It was fantastic. They won. They went on to lose 6-7 in St. Louis, unfortunately, but we ran down on the field. And I remember it really pretty well, but it's a long time ago now. So we were watching a little documentary about that season, and it was exactly as I remembered it. But I was way up top. So by the time we got down there, it was just kind of people milling about. But I just remember not being able to believe that I was at a World Series.
That's amazing.
Well, aside from Game 2 of the 2005 World Series, I was privileged enough to work Mark Burley's perfect game on July 23rd, 2009. And that was the most unbelievable game I've ever seen. It was literally like a TV show where the tension was building and the drama was building to this great moment. And it happened with Dwayne Wise's catch and then the last out. And it was just, that game was just incredible. And it was all done in 2 hours and 1 minute. It was great.
Wow! Yeah,
it took me longer to get home than the entire.
Wow!
How about it, Allison?
Okay, well, I've already talked about it. It's Bartolo Colon hitting a home run in in San Diego. Was my best experience. I also have a worse experience. I was also in Dodger Stadium when Utley broke Tejada's legs. In the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what made that horrible were the Dodger fans.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh, of course.
Like,
yeah.
Get up. And I'm like, he's clearly injured. Can you maybe not be a crap?
Really that kind of shit from the last 25 years has been so disappointing. Yeah. When fans will, break out to the field and it's like, who the fuck do you think you are, you freak? Yeah, it's not cool.
I mean, they changed the rule so that doesn't happen again. Yeah. So that people can't slide into people.
Yeah.
But that was a deliberate slide in.
Yes. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was awful because his career was over after that.
Well, it didn't end his career, but like that All-Star game with Pete Rose charging home plate, and it was Ray Fosse. Yeah. Not cool. Not cool. Yeah. God, did you guys see the Rose documentary?
I have not seen it. No. Yeah.
It's worth seeing. And it's sad that, he died right after it aired, but he's a complicated guy.
He is, yes.
I had the I don't know if you call it a privilege or not, but he right after he was at the All-Star game in 99, we booked him for our TV show that we used to do on the CBS Chicago show on Sunday nights. And we had him on, and it was big news because it was right after the All-Star game.
Sure.
And literally, I think one of the reasons why he did it was we got him a deal on his flights back to Vegas or whatever. Literally, I think that's one of the reasons why he was willing to do it. And we were the first live interview he did after that All-Star game. And we had network coverage. The Today Show was there shooting our show, and lots of national media amongst. And then here we are with our little jerk off 30-minute show that we used to do. But yeah, it was interesting. I always say I felt very fortunate those 10 years I spent at the Score in particular. Yeah. Sporting News was a little more of a job behind the scenes. Yeah. But at the Score, I really got to meet a lot of great players, Mickey Mantle and Frank Robinson and Hank Aaron. And God, I mean, that's just the short list of all-time greats that it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting these heroes of mine. And then all the players that we grew up with, Dave, you know, both White Sox and Cubs, and guys from Kittle and Bill Melton on the Sox, to all those great 60s and early 70s Cub players like Fergie Jenkins and Kessinger and Ernie Banks. And it's like, are you kidding me? This is so, yeah, I mean, I really, and it was good because it was really after my younger years. So I had more appreciation for it. But then, like I said, I don't know. I got a little cynical as the games got cynical, Here, a couple comments from the crowd here. Let's see. Sanford, good to see you, Sanford. Best game for me. 4th game of the 57 series.
Wow.
1 out way of winning. Howard hits a 3-run home run to tie it. Top of the 10th. The Yanks go ahead 5-4. Man, Eddie Matthews hits I'm assuming that's Eddie Matthews, right?
Yep.
It's a walk-off. Yeah. Oof, very cool. And then Tad says, I don't remember what happened July 22nd, 97 at Wrigley.
I don't either.
That's it. Tad, you might have to expand on that and let us know.
I'll look that one up.
Yeah, feel free. And again, this is why I'm glad we got Dave on the show and everything, because Dave's really having the baseball encyclopedia in with True Legs.
The beauty of it is I know exactly where to look. So
well, that's good. Good stuff. God, I don't know. I always tell you guys, and Allison, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but if I were to come back to sports, all I'd want to do would be documentaries about history. I have no interest in the day-to-day stuff anymore. And even if someone were to say, well, hey, how about if we do that, that recent run of something that happened in the 2000s? No, thank you. No, I don't know.
I can't.
No worries, man.
I'll have to do some digging on why this was such.
All right. Well, if not, Tad, it was only 2 minutes ago. So if you're watching still, let us. Here we go. Tad has expanded. Here we go. Boom.
Excellent.
At Wrigley, game 1, Greg Maddux, the great pitcher.
Okay. Yeah, I do see that he was the starting pitcher in that game. Yes.
He beat the Cubs and, of course, his own team, his former team.
Yep.
4-1, 78 pitches. Game 2, Cubs beat Atlanta 4-3.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I would have loved to have seen a 78 pitch complete game. That would be fantastic.
And really, Dave, as you know, the White Sox certainly were always notorious, like the Wilbur Woods of the world, that were notorious for the almost 4-hour games.
Yes.
Yeah, we even tried this year to find a way to get back to 3 hours.
Let me say this.
Worked really hard at it.
I love the pitch clock.
I was going to ask about that.
I love the pitch clock.
Laura's nodding yes. Allison, you like the pitch clock?
I love the pitch clock.
I'm okay with it. I don't mind the long games, but
I agree.
It's not my job to be at them.
well, and that's fair. No, and you're right, and truly, and also for the spectators too. I can appreciate, especially at a 90-degree day when you're outside and you're like, all right, Jesus, wrap it up. But
I also feel like we have the best broadcast in the business with Gary, Keith, and Ron. So I could just listen to them talk. I could listen to them talk forever.
Yeah, Ron Darling is. Yeah, those guys are good. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you listen to a lot of Mets radio?
I have when I have to. Yeah.
Howie Rose is one of my.
Yeah, Howie Rose is great. Also.
Oh, what a.
But legend. Yeah, I've gotten stuck sometimes when I'm in, I remember being in Palm Springs a couple years ago, and they were playing the Dodgers or the Padres. I can't remember. They were playing the Padres or the Dodgers, and I couldn't see it because I was blacked out because I was too close.
Yeah.
And so I had to listen to it on the radio, and it was just like, but it's frustrating.
In Chicago, we were spoiled for so many decades because. Listen, I am a Brickhouse fan. I like Jack Brickhouse. I liked Harry. Harry was a party, and he was a party when he's in the White Sox as much as he was more so with the White Sox than he was with the Cubs. But it was still a good time. But I got to and of course loved Drysdale when he was doing the games. Loved Hawk when he was doing the games. I got spoiled on those guys, and frankly, no disrespect. I don't even know if Brenly is still the Cub guy in TV. He's not. He's not. Well, there you go. I got to tell you, very generic to me. I don't even know. I know Pat Hughes is still doing radio, I like Pat, and of course the Brewers. God bless them for keeping Euchre. Might this be Euchre's last year?
We haven't heard.
Okay,
there was much as wouldn't you say there was much of a pall over the fact that the Brewers lost that it could be Bob's last game.
That was
That was sad.
No, and all those, I mean, and again, having the benefit of those 10 years at the Score, so many great voices from out of town. Loved Harry Callis, funny as hell.
Yeah.
Loved I'm blanking out. Ernie Harwell from the Tigers. What a gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, Vin was great. Scully was great.
Yeah.
all those, and you know,
Vin Scully was great. Yeah. No,
and even.
What I also like, let me just talk about this just really
Sure.
quickly, because it's like a thing that like bothers me, are the national broadcast. And like
So
what
agree with you.
What I hate so much about the playoff season and the World Series is that that you don't get to listen to your people call your team.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a travesty.
Well, that's why you need radio. Yeah, that's why we thank God for radio, you know, where you got the homers doing it.
I can't even see this stuff in New York with everybody. You know what I mean? Like I can't get to SNY, right? So like, it's really frustrating because, you know, there are other people in the country that would like to see stuff that like we don't get to see, like the wrap up after they lose. So you know what I mean? Like we get to hear the national broadcasters like be like, "Oh, LA's the best." You know, it's like great. Thank you guys.
Well, and I know that Dave and Laura agree with Len's comment here. I miss Jason Benetti on the website.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys knew him. Talk. I mean, not that, and he's doing fine, everybody. But yeah, talk about Jason for a second.
What? Just a pro, a gentleman, funny, super smart. I just can't say enough about him. And just to work with him, he knew everybody's name. He'd come in and talk, thank the scoreboard for stuff we put up. When he came back with Detroit, he was great. You know, just wonderful to see him.
Sweetheart.
I could listen to him forever. We tune into some of his broadcasts just to listen to him now.
Yeah.
So we miss him.
Yeah.
So
Sweetheart of a
you've
guy.
got a lot more insight into.
Well,
Jason.
I've known Jason for a long time, and he's just Laura said it all. He was just a pro and a great guy, and he's doing great in Detroit. And he's one of those guys that we're going to say we knew him when, because he is, I mean, he's already the big time, but I think we're looking at Joe Buck type of assignments somewhere down the road.
I would rather see Jason get those assignments than Joe. I got to be honest. I am not a big fan of Joe. I like Jack, of course, Joe's father. He was great. Ted's got a couple of comments I want to bring up because it reminds me of a great story. Tad Eagleton says, I used to sleep to Vin Scully calling Dodger games. Well, he was a wordsmith. I had that baseball, I forget what it's called. It was a really thick paperback of like just a collection of baseball essays and articles from over the years. And they transcribed Vin calling one of Sandy Koufax's perfect games. It was so, and it read well.
Yeah.
And this is a guy extemporaneously. Just, I mean, he's got all the facts there. Of course he does.
Yeah.
But still, to be able to put it together in such a cogent way. No, I had tremendous respect for him. Here, real fast. Ted says, I loved it in 2003 when G and Radio would set their delay to sync with TV. Well, at the Score, we had an evening host, Mike Murphy, good friend of mine still to this day, even has been a former guest on the Score on the Word Balloon. He knew Arnie Harris, the TV director of the Cub games, for decades. And they were good friends. And what they would do is, if the Cubs were out of it by September, which usually they were, they would pick a September night game. And Arnie, we would take the Score out of delay, and Arnie would be on the phone from the broadcast, calling the camera shots. And if you listen to the Score but watch the game, you could hear Arnie giving the camera shots live. And he just did it for like 2 innings. And GN would go crazy. And Arnie's like, what are you going to do? Fire me? You know, and it's like, Arnie, we're sorry. Never mind. Because Arnie was always being offered network jobs from NBC and ABC. And he's like, no, I like Chicago. I want to stay here. But he had so much clout. And I love that about it. And Arnie was just like, yeah, tell me I'm not going to do it. Good luck with that. And God bless that in real fast, Sano on a rain delay. God, I miss Ronnie. He was such a great guy. And so Ron Santo was doing a broadcast, and it was a rain delay. And he started to say on the air, well, you know, this morning I was listening to the Score, and they said, all of a sudden there's dead air. And Ron told us the story, and he's like, immediately when you heard dead air, I got in my ears, Ron, the Score is our competition. We don't talk about our competition on this station. Please get back to the game. Anyway, I was just saying, yeah. So yeah, that's, and again, I get it, but no, I just love crap like that. So did you
I
have
spend
other?
a lot of time syncing broadcasts to radio broadcasts to the TV because I don't like listening to the national one, and I prefer the radio call because it's a lot more descriptive.
Sure.
Yeah, there was apparently like somebody had figured out. I don't know. Like I was talking to my friend Mike Stern, who's like he's like an animation showrunner, and he's also a huge Mets fan, just like me, that lives in Los Angeles. And he was like, I heard there's a way to like sync Howie Rose to the national broadcast. He's like, do you know how to do that? And I was like, no. Like I was like, I'm not that sophisticated. But apparently there's a thing. So
Sanford says Benetti was on the podcast. Great interview. He did talk about leaving Chicago, going to Detroit. He was very funny.
Very funny. Yeah.
And if Tad said he misses Arnie Harris. Yeah, Arnie was the man. No, truly. Arnie's, I mean, literally, WGN started doing television baseball in 48. Am I right, David? I think it's that year.
48. Yep.
Yeah.
April 10th. Yep.
Yeah. So literally, the golden age of television. I mean, literally, they were one of those original stations, like the New York stations and stuff. That this was so they were really teaching other producers and directors how to do baseball.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Real quick story: Wayne Larrabee of the Packers,
good friend.
He has a cue for all of the people who want to sync the Packer game, which is sacred here in Wisconsin, to the national broadcast.
Tell me.
When the game starts, Wayne says, here's the run up and the kick. And at that point, to sync the broadcast.
Interesting.
Isn't that awesome?
That's fantastic.
Isn't that awesome?
So Dave tried to talk with Steve Homer True,
the Marquette guy,
Marquette radio guy.
I'm like, Homer, you got to do this.
We
for
were
me,
at
man.
an event together, and he was just talking to him in a conversation. He said, "Listen, we try to sync you guys.
We try to sync you guys,
but you gotta let us know when it's going to start. Say
the ball is in the air.
There's the tip.
Yeah,
the ball's in the air.
Sure.
Hey, pick something." He's like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
He never did it.
Of course not. Got to play kid. I understand.
Let me follow up real quick on the pitch clock.
Please.
I love it. And yes, we do work these games, but I think the pitch clock has not compromised the game one bit. Well, I shouldn't say that. Every once in a while, there's a pitch clock violation and there's a ball or a strike. Yeah. But the fat is gone.
I hear you.
The round is gone. The stepping out of the box is gone. They have just eliminated so much fat from these games that it has enhanced the quality of the product. I truly believe that. And I'm not crazy about the bigger bases and the ghost runner and yada, yada, yada.
That's my big bugaboo.
The ghost runner is like, that was a COVID thing. And I'm like, why do we still have this?
The pitch clock to me is like the wheel. It's like fire. It's like the greatest invention I've ever seen.
But give me your rant, Laura, about the ghost runner.
And when I turn red and go on for far too long, just please stop me. It's a fraud. Okay, there's no fraud. I'm sorry. You're a pitcher. You're a good pitcher. Maybe you pride yourself on not letting guys get into scoring position. And now there's a guy in second. Like what?
How do you count that? How do you count that stat?
Yeah, one hit ends the game. So it was originally
everything's unearned.
Yeah, everything's unearned. But I would just say, how do you record that?
That's what I'm saying.
How do you record that? How did he get to second? How did he get to second? How do you in history? How do you say that he got to second? And I can't get past it.
It's like a schoolyard rule. Like you don't have enough players. So therefore,
you kick the ball in kickball in 6th grade at Lincoln Elementary in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you get to first base. You don't have enough players, so you have a ghost runner on first. That's what you should use, the ghost runner.
Yes, ma'am.
There.
I thought that. Did I see that in the playoffs they're not doing it?
They're not doing it in the playoffs. No.
Okay, that's why. Because I was like,
thank God.
Something went to the 10th, and I was like, there's no ghost runner, and I'm like, oh, so now they take the ghost runner away?
But that's my point. So why did they take the ghost runner away? Because it's a fraud.
Why not? Why couldn't we just get rid of it? I'm so against it. Like it just because it was. I understood it for COVID, right? Because they really were trying to speed things up and be done, right? I get it.
Are these new rules concrete, or is something like the ghost runner something that they're we'll see how it goes, and then maybe we'll review it?
I think the Ghost Runner is here to stay.
It was gone briefly.
Yeah.
It was not not on the field, in the owners' meetings or whatever. It was briefly gone, and I was really happy. And then they just put
I
it
think
back.
it's here to stay.
Oh.
I think MLB likes it because it preserves pitchers' arms. They don't like to watch games, so that's a rule that I'm not as adamant about it as Laura is. I do get it, but the conversation of trying to figure out like how the runner got to second, it reminds me of the dialogue in Stand By Me where they were talking about Mighty Mouse and Superman. So I think we're kind of going with that. Anyway,
I love that conversation. What are you talking about? This is the right place to have that conversation.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. All right, we're about to switch subjects, but before we do, series prediction.
I'll start. I think it's going to be Yankees. As much as I hate to say it, I think it's going to be the Yankees in 6, and I think we're going to get our hearts broken because people like Tim Hill and Carlos Rodon and Tommy Kahnle, who are with the White Sox, are probably going to factor into this World Series. I think it's going to be 6 great games, and as I said, the star power of this World Series is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I'm going Dodgers just because, like I said, we've watched the Dodgers a lot, and they just seem to have it, like know how to win a game.
Okay.
Even they've got some injuries and whatever, they know how to make those moves. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers.
I'm going to have to go with the Yankees. Also, sadly, because I would like to root for my Brooklyn Dodgers, but yeah, I just feel like starting pitching is going to be a key here, and I feel like they have a stronger starting pitching situation. And just watching how they like kind of managed going through with Cleveland and everything, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be that.
Interesting. All right. I have no. Honestly, I'm not.
I don't know in how many. No. I think it's going to be a very high scoring series.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think we're gonna get a pitcher's duel in here. Like, I really don't.
Johnny, before we move on, when these teams met in '81, it was on ABC. Okay?
Yes.
And the broadcasting team calling the game, Keith Jackson, Al Michaels,
fantastic,
and
Howard Cosell. It had to be
Howard Cosell.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that was back when he did Monday Night Baseball and everything.
Yeah.
No, and I loved Al on baseball. And I loved when Keith Jackson would occasionally do baseball and stuff. But
I thought that was really interesting. What a powerhouse booth that was.
Yeah,
I mean, crazy.
Yeah. Too bad Al's a dick. Sorry. Let me burst some bubbles. Al Michaels is a jerk. I know that firsthand. Sorry, arrogant piece of garbage. You don't walk on it. Hey, do you believe in assholes? Yes. I can't help it. You know me, guys. I got to do my voices. So, hey, I didn't give you guys my Mel M. Hello again, everybody.
Oh.
Come on. I that was honestly, and in fact, I know I bored Dave and Laura. See, again, Allison, you gotta understand, I'm really about the old shit. They have episodes of This Week in Baseball.
About it, I'm like, you don't really watch baseball.
No, I love the old stuff. But This Week in Baseball, the old half-hour show they would do every Saturday.
I remember those, yeah.
Oh man, and the music and even the closing credits of just great plays of base running and diving for a ball, and a great home run. Yep. Oh my God, it was so dramatic. Now it's time for this week's Volkswagen quiz. Sure it is. I love that stuff. And he was the voice, man. And Gowdy with the game of the week on NBC, another wonderful national guy I got to know in the 90s back on the score and stuff. The old cowboy, tremendous. Keith Jackson was great. No, I love those guys, man. Yeah, sorry. They don't make them like that anymore. No. Sorry. All right. Anyway, this is the time that if you don't want to hear about voting and the other horse race that's going on in the
hey, nice.
There's Allison Baker, a woman who's been making political ads for radio and TV, and even what's the other area that you write stuff for, Allison, or produce stuff for?
I've this year been doing a lot of mail and billboards and all kinds of random things. So
well, and Dave and Laura are in a battleground state of Wisconsin.
Yes.
So they've likely heard some of Allison's or watched some of Allison's TV and radio spots. So
It's very possible. Well, the radio, I think, is mostly in Michigan and Nebraska.
okay. You spent a weekend with Tim Walz in Michigan a couple weeks ago?
I spent like an hour with him, but yeah, like he came to the Michigan, I guess it was Michigan Minnesota game, and Denise Illich, who was one of the owners of the Tigers, is a Michigan regent, and I'm doing her race. So I was there with the camera when he visited our tailgate. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
and you've got a long history in political ads, and you've even told me, you knew President Biden when he was vice president.
Well, I knew him before that.
Okay, even before that. Excuse me. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I did his presidential race in 2007. So I traveled with him on a baby plane, what I call a Buddy Holly Death Jet, all over Iowa.
Yikes! Yeah.
So yeah. So I was at election night in 2008 in the Biden tent in Grant Park.
Oh, that's cool.
At the inauguration. And,
sure.
So
a great moment. Great moment.
But I most for we were in Wisconsin, but I was gonna say Chicago. So like I did Pat Quinn's gubernatorial race in 2010.
Big White Sox. Big White Sox.
I did his race in 2010. I've done, Jennifer Granholm's race in 2006 for governor. I mean, I kind of go back and forth between like entertainment and politics. And in 2022, I came back to politics and did the Michigan Abortion Initiative Prop 3.
Wow.
So, yeah, I made a lot of ads for that.
And Dave and Laura live in Kenosha, and they were there for some of the upheaval, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse, wasn't that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right over there.
Jesus. Yeah. How close, David? How close, David?
Mile.
If that.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. We were listening to the scanner. I mean, it was just, we were in the belly of the beast. It was really insane. But we are definitely in a battleground state, and
yeah. So you're seeing lots of ads.
Oh
my gosh.
I mean,
all you're seeing are ads.
That's all we're seeing. We spent some time with our family from Illinois the other day, and I said, well, this that ad, and I started recounting whatever it was. And they said, we don't have any.
We don't get it. No, it's a foregone conclusion. We're a blue state. Yeah.
And we were in Ohio over the weekend. We were lucky enough to attend the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony concert, and there was no political presence there. Very little.
That was
really interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, very little.
I mean, there probably is. We just didn't.
We didn't
count
see it. It was just we weren't. It was not the inundation that we were getting.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
You're getting all the presidential stuff, and then all the IE stuff, and then all the down ballot stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything is like so close because, like, as you well know, Wisconsin's 50-50, just like Michigan is 50-50, just like Pennsylvania is 50-50.
Yep.
So
we have a Senate race going on that's really important, and of course, Congressman.
I will tell you this. For the first time that I can remember, we are seeing ads for state assembly races on Milwaukee.
Wow.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So for both sides, but mostly for the Democratic side, I'm seeing there's some for the Republican. But so you're talking about, we're seeing them here in Kenosha. We're watching Milwaukee television. Nothing to do with us. I mean, because this is not our assembly race. I mean, these are in like West Bend, which is in Oconomowoc, and Slinger, Sheboygan, and we're getting it. So the money that's coming into this market is just unbelievable.
And they're reaching people. The ads are reaching people because it's going all over, and you hear people talk about it. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who was outside the state, but observations of Wisconsin and also conversations with you guys after Scott Walker's time as governor and some of the shitty things that he did as governor and stuff, it does seem like, thankfully, things are becoming more competitive in the state.
Yes, we used to be progressive, Wisconsin.
Well, way back, but
then I think some complacency, some not super great candidate.
Voter turnout.
And then, kind of like that Reagan ripple effect.
Sure.
And then Scott Walker, we might not ever recover from that.
Busted up the unions, all the bullshit. Yeah.
I did some stuff against him at one point a while back, but it's been a while. So
I don't think he'll come back. I mean, he does rear his derpy head, but I don't think he would have enough money. I don't think people would give him money. I don't think so.
Allison, in your backyard, Portland, is it, I mean, and really Oregon, I should say Oregon in general, but also Portland specifically, because I know there are pockets of conservatism in Oregon or in Portland. No?
In Portland?
Yeah.
No,
not really. Just the rest of the state.
Oregon? Yeah, just the rest of the state.
Okay. So, I mean, does it break?
Portland,
Say it again.
be a red state. Not that long ago. I mean, Kate Brown, who was the former governor, and I was talking to her, I was at a thing and I was talking to her about it, and she like started as like a state senator, and she was like, she's like, I was in the minority and we couldn't do anything. And like, so like, it was like her talking about like her journey, like for them to like slowly move the state to a progressive situation, because they were the Democrats were in the minority when she was in the state Senate and state house. So, I mean, that's what's so important about the down ballot. And what I'm going to say is that, like, obviously, like, battleground states are important, like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada. But also, there are races everywhere where everybody is. And so, your state legislature and your state House and Senate are absolutely valid. It's so important that you really look into, like, who you're voting for. And there's like so many voter guides and information. Like if you're unsure about somebody or you see an ad and you don't know what, like, look them up, Google them or something. Because absolutely, what's so great about Oregon is that the whole state is vote by mail, and they send you like a pamphlet, and it's like you can go through and do your ballot and look at every person that's like submitted something, right? Both sides, and you get to like basically like see like who you identify with more, or who you want to support, even if you're not completely familiar with like who these people are. Because I mean, that's what I think. I mean, what I have to do a lot of times is kind of stick in people's heads. Like I'm talking to people who are like not engaged and not doing research and have to like go into a booth and like be like, oh, I remember this guy was okay or this guy was bad, so I'm gonna vote for the other guy. Like that's what I'm trying to do when I do media. But like there's so many more options to vote early.
Yeah.
Take notes and take it in with you if you have to vote in person. But the down ballot is so vital. I cannot express that enough. Like
that's that's where the real governing that affects your life happens.
It's gonna actually affect your life. Like more than the presidential. I mean, the presidential in this instance, I think affects everybody.
Sure.
Because I really don't want to go into a camp. So
I hear you.
I would like to still live in this country and be okay. But honestly, like, your Senate races, like, I mean, there's Senate races that are toss-ups right now in Texas, in Florida, in Ohio, Montana. Like, I mean, there's in Wisconsin. I mean, like those are all like vital Senate races. And if we lose the Senate, that's a huge problem.
Certainly. And only a 4-seat difference in the Congress.
Yeah. I mean, like there's a 4-seat. I mean, that's why like we've been trying to do media that's in support of Democratic candidates in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, like to basically like say like, hey, this guy is not a good guy, like he's not doing what, he's not supporting the constituency in his district. And this person does. This person actually wants to do something for you. But beyond that, like, there's abortions on the ballot in Florida and in Missouri and in Arizona. And like, and in Florida, and if you're in Florida, they have to get to 60% to pass that ballot initiative. Wow. Also, weed's on the ballot. So go vote for weed and healthcare.
Yeah.
Well, Allison, what do you think that in my very unprofessional or inexperienced way, I think that those two things are going to really help turnout. Like when I hear that's on the ballot in, is it Missouri? It's some red state where it's on the ballot. Yeah. I'm like, happy to hear that. And I think it's going to really help turnout. But is that just me wishful thinking, or what do you think?
Well, but turnout also is like, like who's on the ground, basically, like, and like, is there money behind it? And, like I do a lot of voter education, like nonpartisan work as well, like mostly in Detroit. Just to just let people know, because they've changed their voting laws, and now there's 2 weeks of voting early in person, just to let people know, like, hey, you can vote now at any one of these 14 locations around the city, like just getting the information out so people know, like, there's more options to vote, in certain constituencies, like, than there have been in the past. And that's also a piece of turnout, like a lot of people are like, they're limited. I mean, like Texas is a low voter turnout state. Georgia has like been consistently, like they have so much. Florida has like so much voter suppression, like so many obstacles for people to easily vote. And I think that like where like, yes, people issues that affect people's lives motivates them to make it a priority, but it's also, there's a reality that people have to work a lot, and they like, oh, I can't take off work to go vote on a weekday. You know what I mean? So,
yes, they should. There really should be a national thing to like make voting day either like spread it over a weekend, make it an actual national holiday, so that people don't have to worry about getting to work and still being able to vote. I agree with all of that. It's absolutely ridiculous. I wanted to, Allison, making ads, and also when you hear my question, I'll ask if you're doing it beyond traditional media, because one podcast that I follow, I was listening to today, and they were making the point, especially with Trump's chief of staff, the general. There's Milley, and then there's the other guy, Kelly. And Kelly, obviously, this week, big news. He's got the book out. He has recorded interviews with the New York Times. No, this is what Trump thinks. This is what we should be worried about. But is it reaching the undecideds and the unengaged by going to just traditional media things? It may, 20 years ago, it absolutely makes sense for Kelly to break this stuff through the New York Times and through traditional media to get the word out nationally. But we're so divided in how we consume media, and also the unengaged. They're not reading the Times. They're not listening to the major networks or even the major cable networks. So what kind of challenge is that for people like yourself making these messages?
Yeah, but they might be streaming Law and Order on their streaming service, and then they're going to see one of my ads.
Okay, but how important is it?
Because there's what happens is that we target an audience, right? Whether that's like, okay, we want to talk to people, 55 and over, who are in this demographic, like in this area code, and it gets like this. It gets a very, very drilled down and very specific and very granular.
Okay, but what do you?
So that's like.
But again, I was going to say though, and I think that's great that they are running on, like, if you're watching Law and Order streaming or whatever.
Right.
But like, do you think there is a viable thing from an ad standpoint to go to podcasts and some of these other venues?
Oh yeah, and people are buying those.
Okay.
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because honestly, my concern is like, truly, goddamn.
And that's called streaming radio, which is,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I respect that if that's how you classify it from an ad standpoint. Sure.
That's what we classify it from a media buying standpoint.
No, I'm with you. But no, honestly, it's like, again, if Watergate had happened today and it was Nixon, he'd walk away from it. He wouldn't have been embarrassed to leave office. It's a different environment now. And I really think, again, because I was 12 years old when he resigned. And I remember very distinctly when he resigned and everything, and all the national coverage and the Watergate hearings during the summer and watching all that stuff.
Right.
It's a different world. I don't want to watch that. I think I'll watch a rerun of Supernatural instead, or or Friends for the upteenth time.
Then you're going to see my ad when you're streaming watching Friends. So
That's cool. That's cool.
If you're in a specific demographic in a specific state in a specific situation. So
that's and Ted, I didn't realize this. He says, "Thank you, JB Pritzker, for making Election Day a state holiday." That's cool. And he also has the question for the Wisconsin people. It had one of the most ridiculous gerrymanders ever. I know that got knocked down by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Did the maps get redrawn for this election?
Yes, they did. And the plan that was accepted was like Plan 1A. You know, there was the number one plan that would have been really actually fair and made sense to anyone who was thinking rationally. And what they were actually able to pass was the next one. Like,
okay.
So it's not perfect, but it's light years better than it was. I have read that according to political experts, we did have the worst gerrymandered maps in the United States. So
Texas is still pretty bad, and that's why your state legislature and state senate are so important to vote for.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I'm early voting tomorrow. I got my information of where. Oh, absolutely, man. No. And I've done it, ever since, I was aware of early voting and stuff. I absolutely did. I did the mail-ins back in 20. And listen, don't believe the bullshit. Mail-in ballots are good. Early voting is good.
You can track them.
You can track your ballot.
Track your ballot.
So yeah. So, I mean, that's really all. That's all I have to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. Again, it's look, and really at the top of the ticket, I'm sorry, man. It really, don't we want to go back to normal? Don't we want to go back to?
I do.
And I think most, and truly, as nervous as I am, and I won't deny that I'm nervous, and I know it's going to be close. I genuinely believe there are enough reasonable people out there that would like to go back to a sense of normalcy. They may not agree with Vice President Harris's policies, but it's that or chaos. And I'm sorry, if everybody was really worried about Uncle Joe starting to slip, how about the idiot that stands there for 40 minutes to listen to music because he's sick of asking questions? And just that. And then they got the gall. Harris did a town hall with CNN and they were asked, will we be able to ask questions? No. Oh my God, Harris isn't taking questions at a town hall. How about Captain Idiot playing his playlist on Spotify for 40 fucking minutes instead of answering even questions on the stage? It's like, again, I am sick of Bizarro World. And I really think if we can get rid of this idiot, hopefully that will be the pebble that starts the avalanche, that we can get back to a real two-party system of people that want to push the country genuinely forward and not scared by all the scarecrow kind of boogeyman tactics of oh my God, don't worry, we're gonna have trans operations in prison. Fuck you. Like you really think that's actually? I can't tell you how many MAGAs that are in my orbit that are like, well, aren't you concerned that Vice President Walz doesn't know how to load a shotgun? No, I'm really not. I'm really sorry that didn't go well. And no, I don't think it was cute that Donald Trump pretended to work at McDonald's for 20 minutes at the fry counter. Good Lord. And also all the things he wants to do, they're for people that are barely getting by, which I guess on the surface is good, but it's like, don't you want these people to like have something beyond?
Yes.
You don't have to pay taxes on overtime. You don't have to, if you got Social Security, you don't have to pay taxes. Well, it'll be interesting if you get that stuff out there. And that might even be true about Harris. But at least Harris is trying to build people's.
The latest thing on Social Security, but he wants to like cut all kinds of stuff, so it won't be funded anymore. So basically, he would cut it by 33%. Which, by the way, isn't an ad I'm making tomorrow. So
we'll look for it.
Tad tells me that in Illinois, I didn't know you could sign up for permanent. I don't know if this is the first I've heard of it. That you can sign up for permanent mail-in status if you want.
It's different in every state, so I don't know all the rules. I know all the rules in Michigan, obviously. But you can't permanent absentee is the best. Man, I love voting by mail. It's awesome.
It was a pleasure dropping off my ballot at one of those boxes and knowing everything. All right, everything's sealed up. That's great. No, I'm with you guys, absolutely. And again, forgive the partisanship, everybody, at the end of the show. But it's important. It's important to vote.
I think it's important to vote whatever party.
I completely agree. Just know what you're voting for. Know what you're really. And again, hey man, hey, listen, if you love everything that Trump said, God bless you. Go for it. And then
a good person for the job.
Yeah, all right.
That's what I don't think in any other election in pre 2016 or even just pre 2020, you wouldn't have this segment on your show because it would be too like, hey, vote for who you want.
Yeah,
this is
of course.
insanity. It's
and for someone like Liz Cheney, who truly I've hated for most of my awareness of her, but I can't deny respecting the hell out of her integrity.
How great is she, by the way? I mean, like, and them together is like a great. I mean, I love it. I think it's amazing. It reminds me of like, when I was in Texas, I worked for the lieutenant governor for the Texas Senate, and at the time, Democrats were in charge. But like, it was very like you couldn't tell who was a Republican, who was a Democrat. Everybody was all very friendly, and like it was not a thing.
Well, they try to get stuff done. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean like
now,
they were just like now it's like
compromise is a bad thing, and what did allow people to govern and gets. I mean, Lyndon Johnson knew this when he was the president or the head of the Senate, when he was the majority leader of the Senate prior to being vice president. He would make these deals, and it's like, and sit down with Everett Dirksen of Illinois and be like, from the Republicans, and be like, all right, you'll get X, I'll get Y, and we'll move the country forward.
Yeah, and everybody was friends. Everybody got along.
and then the idiot Grover Norquist started to influence the Republicans in the mid-90s, and it's no compromise is losing. Fuck you. Fuck you. Good Lord. And again, I do believe deep down that there are enough reasonable people on both sides of the aisle to go,
yes, and I was
can't allow this guy to happen.
I have faith in humanity.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Oh, don't
I know
get
it's
me wrong.
hard.
I'm still lighting candles every Sunday.
I've had to watch focus groups, so I still have faith in humanity.
Hearing this makes me feel better because you're on the ground. Your boots on the ground, and that's great.
Yep.
Well,
it's going to be very close, guys. So
sure.
We might not know election night.
Oh, of course not.
I'm hoping it's not that close, but it's probably going to be close. And like anything you can do to encourage people to get out to vote. That's all I can say at this point. It is a turnout game. The persuasion period is pretty much closing down on us. So
yeah. Oof. Yeah, and Allison, I feel for you. I know you and I've talked about this. You're like a fireman now, kind of on standby in case there is some sort of last minute thing they want you to make, right?
Oh yeah, I'm making one tomorrow. Yeah.
There you go. Good Lord.
Ordered the VO today.
What's the what's the October surprise? Is George Bush going to?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Is he going to pull?
Well, it's so Dave. This podcast I was listening to, they're like in a normal election cycle.
It would,
Well, the stuff that John Kelly said would be enough to go. That would be an October surprise. Or the
the Cheneys would have been enough for it. In back in the day, because there were. I mean, y'all probably don't remember this, but I know it just from historical understanding elections. Democrats for Nixon destroyed. The
Democrats for
that was it.
And the Democrats for Reagan, the working class Democrats that went to Reagan.
Just
Reagan.
And of course that October surprise of they were hoping that Carter was hoping they'd free the hostages before the election, and instead we're waiting for Reagan. No, don't free the hostages.
I had a hostage that lived on my street growing up.
Really? Wow. My political connection, Dwight Chapin, who was the associate press secretary to Nixon and one of the Watergate guys that went to jail and stuff. His daughter, Kim, was a classmate of mine. Yeah. And I remember in 7th and 8th grade, late 70s, we had All the President's Men book in our school library. And it's like, hey, here's Kim's dad. And he's in jail. So he's out now. Everything's fine now.
I had her in a social studies class one time, John, at New Trier.
Kim Chapin, yeah.
Yeah, and the unit was on Nixon's trip to China.
Wow.
The teacher, Steve Hilzebeck, was doing it. And there was this picture of them getting off the plane. And all of a sudden in the background of the class, we hear, "That's my dad." And it was Kim Chapin pointing at Dwight Chapin.
He released a book within the last 5 or 10 years. And I saw him on a Fox Sunday as, now our power player of the week, whatever. Yeah. But I'm like, oh my God, it's Mr. Chapin.
he was in the his character was in the Johnny Knoxville movie about Elvis and Nixon. Dwight Chapin was in that one.
Oh yeah, and in fact, the one they made, the other movie they made of, I didn't remember Johnny Knoxville because there's the show. There was the Showtime because there was the one with Michael Shannon when he played Elvis, and that was a feature of Elvis meeting Nixon. But then there was the '90s one from Showtime, and Bob Gunton, the guy who played the warden in Shawshank Redemption, played Nixon. And I can't remember the Canadian actor who played Elvis, but Dwight Chapin was on camera in that. It's kind of a mockumentary. I mean, it was a comedy as much as it was telling the facts. But it's one of my favorite story. I mean, that whole thing with Elvis coming that weekend and meeting Nixon.
Yeah.
Are you getting it?
I'm trying.
There you go.
But yeah, I know the one I'm thinking was mid '90s, and it was called Elvis Meets Nixon. Dick Cavett was in it. But oh, that's funny, Tad. You're right, and in fact, this will happen. He says you should make another political connection by having Andrew Aiden on to talk about John Lewis's graphic novels about March.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. No, and my good friend Carmen McWithers, to his close friends, he knows Aiden, and he's like, "Oh, I can help you get Aiden." I would love that.
Great.
God, I don't.
I worked for IDW when John Lewis came to San Diego. So.
I was gonna say, Allison, I was there too. That was so cool that John Lewis was at Comic-Con.
You know what's cool is Shamir was like so excited to meet him. Like that was like a kind of a cool, like, you know, we were at the booth at the same time. So yeah, it was awesome. No,
that was incredible. That and at the New York convention, the first year that they started the convention at the Javits Center, Neil Adams was set up next to Gloria Steinem. And she had and this is a ridiculous story, but I'll embarrass myself by saying it. Allison knows that in the 70s, they depowered Wonder Woman and made her like Emma Peel from the Avengers and made her a street level kind of literally kung fu kind of fighter. And, you know, it was kind of that period of street Avengers and stuff. But Steinem wrote this fantastic article, and it was the cover story of Ms. Magazine. Look what they did to our superpowered Wonder Woman. They've depowered her. And I was talking to Neil Adams. He's like, you should talk to Steinem. He goes, my God, she's the most famous person here. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I should. So I walk up. She could not have been cooler. And she was promoting some public service kind of advocacy sort of special comic or whatever. And that's cool. And I'm like, you know, can I ask you about the Wonder Woman thing? She's like, absolutely. I said, you know, I've talked to Denny O'Neil, the writer who did that. And I said, I completely understand where you're coming from, but, you know, he really thought he was honoring women's lib by making her more of a woman of the people rather than the superpowers. And I go, I wonder if, you know, upon reflection, knowing if you ever knew that or knowing that now, you know, does that change your mind in any way? And she went, no. And I'm like, okay, never mind. Sorry. Let me slink away. But she was great. And I love that answer. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I took the punch.
I will say this, and because I have written an article about how Wonder Woman was so important to people of my generation and how I love that TV show.
Oh God!
And I had to, like, my grandmother made me like a Wonder Woman cape.
Wow!
I was like 5 years old that I like loved, and have amazing pictures of my grandfather in it. But I think that, you know, I just turned 50, and, you know, like, people are questioning me, like, I don't understand why people aren't like behind Kamala, like, I don't understand it, blah, blah, blah. We still are living in a society that gender and race is a factor in elections. And so even though you might not be exposed to that, it is definitely a factor with the greater electorate. And, you know, like, I was told that I could be or do anything that I was, you know, thought I could do or whatever. And I definitely have run into situations. I've worked in male dominated industries my entire life. And I can't even tell you how great it would be to finally see a woman become president of the United States, because it's high time.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, people have tons of prejudice against gender in particular.
I think we saw that with Hillary. The polling, you know, showed her leading. And I think people maybe said they were going to vote for her, but then truly in their heart didn't want to vote for a woman. And I think that that's an issue in different demographic groups. And That's what scares me a lot. And, and I voted for Hillary in 2016, and I thought she was going to win. But it was different than when I filled in that oval next to Kamala's name yesterday. I really felt it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. That's excellent.
It was Elvis and Nixon 2016.
Michael Shannon?
Michael Shannon played Elvis. Kevin Spacey played Richard Nixon.
You know, I'm really, as you'll forgive the pop culture observation, but really, I don't know what we do with all those great Kevin Spacey movies. I don't know if they go in the closet now and we forget about them or whatever. And in fact, I was literally,
he was in one of my very good friends, George Wayne. He was in his movie, so I'm not gonna like.
Which movie?
Swimming with Sharks.
Oh, sure, I love that movie. Michelle Forbes, fantastic movie. Oh yeah, I love that movie.
My really good friend wrote and directed that. So.
Oh, that's really cool. No, well, it was ironic. I mean, sometimes I'll fall asleep with YouTube running, and I woke up to the 2005 documentary about the history of Superman to tie into the Bryan Singer Superman Returns movie. Another guy canceled, but Kevin Spacey narrated it, and of course played Lex Luthor in the movie. So, yeah, so there's that. So anyway, there you go. On a happy note.
Anyway,
but no, this is great, guys. I love this.
Hey, Allison, are you going to get a baseball team in Portland?
That's a good question.
So.
That's a very good question.
We have the Pickles right now, which is like
are they AAA or single A?
It's like I don't know if it's an A. I think it's independent.
By the way, Allison,
if you even an A.
if you well, there is the independent league. If you've never seen on Netflix, especially being in Portland, the Battered Bastards of Baseball documentary.
I have had that in my like.
It is so great. And you'd appreciate it, especially also coming from entertainment, because that was Kurt Russell's dad's team, Bing. And Bing was a character actor. He was on like literally over the 14 years of Bonanza on like 100 episodes as like the deputy in town. So he was a recurring character on Bonanza. But I remember as a kid, again, showing my age, and Dave, I don't know if you remember this as well, but we used to get like Little League instructional movies, and those were made by Bing Russell.
Yeah,
and we saw those instructional movies. They were made in the 60s or whatever.
Yeah. That's a great doc. That's a great doc. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So they keep saying that they're going to allot land and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think I don't know why I mean, they're West Coast. There aren't very many West Coast teams.
Right. Salt Lake City is probably going to get it. I would guess.
That's what I was going to ask you. What are the
going to Sacramento? Like the Oakland's going to Sacramento or something crazy or something?
Yes. Oakland. Oakland is going to play temporarily in Sacramento until they can get their stadium situation resolved. So next year, the White Sox,
Sacramento Athletics,
Sacramento against the A's.
Yeah, I just don't even understand that. My only tie from political media is like my old boss when I worked in my first stint in political media from 2006 to 2014. He did the initiative so that the Mariners had a stadium.
Sure.
So, which I went to this year.
Here,
I was going to go because Joe made this.
That's because the Pickles are part of the West Coast League Collegiate Summer Ball Commission.
Commissioner is a big comic fan, Rob Nyer. Oh, nice. Wow. Rob Nyer is an unbelievable baseball historian and writer, and that's a summer college league, which is like a summer internship for college baseball players. We have a team in Kenosha that plays it in the North Woods League. It's a wooden bat league, and it simulates minor league ball. It's great.
Yeah, do you know Christian Lipsky, right? He does their marketing. Do you know him?
Oh, for the Kingfish?
No. For I'm talking to John. Like he's a comic guy too. Christian Lipsky. Do you know him at all? I don't know why you would know him.
Rob Nyer is amazing. Yes,
I know him. So I'm like he's comic to me. But yeah, no, he really does the Pickles marketing stuff. So anyway, that's why I know about them.
There you go. Well, good job, people. I love this conversation. I like when I get off topic and have a chance to relax and hear smart people talk. And that's
John. Thank you for having us on.
So much.
This was an honor. Really, it was, John. You're one of my heroes, and it's just great to be with you.
You're my dear friend of literally 40 plus years.
It's just great.
Allison and I are dear friends for more than 10 years, probably 15 if I really wanted to count.
John is the funniest
and
name.
Laura, no. And Laura knows I absolutely respect and love her.
Meeting you, and thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, wonderful, Allison.
Oh, thank you. And thank you guys. Like, I just am so excited to talk about baseball with somebody because I don't get to do that. Like, none of my people in my house care. So
every day, every single day we talk about baseball.
That's all we do.
I will. Can I come live with you?
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, John.
Nothing's firmed up yet for next week, but I got a lot of irons in the fire. And when I know something, I promise you I'll let you know about next week's lineup for Word Balloon Live. But until then, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.